Well, hello everybody. Today we're back in St. Michael's Cemetery. We'll start with Josie Woods, who married Elijah Joseph Fudge on June 16th, 1904. They would go on to have three kids, Tennie, Boscombe, and Ethel Fudge. Josie would unfortunately take her own life, or at least that's what it was called at the time, and on January 31st, 1916. After her passing, after her passing, Elijah and his three kids would move down to Pensacola and move in with her sister, so his sister-in-law. And unfortunately, what happens next is really sad, and I guess could still be argued today in exactly what happened. I'm going to give you the facts as I've been able to find, and kind of let you play jury as we go and let you come up with your own conclusion. On the morning of June 27th, 1916, soon after breakfast, the father and his son Boscombe would go and sell some of his deceased wife's clothes and one of his tools that he used, because he also did carpentry work. They started walking down the road and the dog followed them, and the dad told the son to wait. He would go back and put the dog up and would return shortly after. They After that, they went downtown, and after selling the goods, he went to a service club and drank a bottle of beer. At the club, he was actually told that there was work at the Navy Yard, and he had actually been looking for work for quite some time. So he actually spent the rest of the afternoon hanging around the Palafox wharf. And he actually, story said that he had helped some people catch a shark. And then at that time, he gave his son Boscombe money to go get some lunch. In the late afternoon, the father and son returned home to find the house was closed. The father sat down on the front steps and sent Boscombe to his aunt's house to look for the girls. They were not at their aunt's house, and once Boscombe came home, he sent the boy down to the Bayshore Park to look for them. He also didn't find them there, and whenever Boscombe returned home, the father lifted Boscombe through the window, and they located the girls on the floor. They found a .22 rifle next to the eldest daughter, who was Tennie. Tennie was shot directly through the heart and was cold and stiff, and Ethel was shot through the chest just below the heart and a little to the right, and not so cold. About the time the neighbors arrived, the father took a book from the table, opened up, and pulled out three notes that Tennie supposedly wrote. Three notes indicating that she was going to take her life and her sister's life. And I'm actually going to read them at the end of the video for those that's just listening. So their mother passed away, supposedly by her own hands, about 5 months before this incident. And they did say that the eldest daughter wished that she would have taken her with her. The state introduced certain testimony raising doubts on whether Tennie's arm was actually long enough to reach the trigger on the rifle and do the harm to herself. They actually called a woman by the name of Bertie Mundy in the trial. He had visited her several times to use her services as she was a prostitute. She said she knew about the children, that he had told her about them, and spoke very nicely of them. She testified that she met him in the street just a few days before the death of the children, and that upon being informed that his brother-in-law and his sister-in-law had moved away, because the house they were staying in, they actually moved away to go live in a nearby town. So, being that his help moved away, she asked the father if she would like to see if her mother wouldn't mind taking the girls in to take care of them. He admits to talking to her in the street, but never anything mentioned about her possibly taking the girls from him. The children and the mother that all passed actually had all life insurance policies that were payable to the husband if something like this happened. They did say it was a small amount, but I guess that's really, when you only have a few cents to your name, that could really be a lot of money. So who knows about that? So on, he actually got sentenced for the girls' deaths. But in March of 1918, the Supreme Court overturned his conviction and released him. The theory that the state raised is it seemed that the plaintiff loved the prostitute Bertie Mundy and that she would not marry him because of the children. And they thought that the life insurance was just the extra, basically added bonus, I guess you would say. And the girls being out of his life and the extra money would be the motivation behind killing them. In fact, Ethel was sick with scarlet fever the February and March before their death, and they said that he was a good steward to her and tried to help her back to good health. When they went to go charge him, their theory was that he forced Tennie to write the 3 notes, and that he killed her and her sister while Boscom was going to either get the milk in the morning or whenever he went back to the yard to put the dog up. I tried to give you a shorter version because there is actually quite a bit of documents that you can go through. Now the question is, did he kill his little girls and his wife? Or was he just one of the most unfortunate people to live? Well, I know when I read the suicide notes, I know when I read the notes that the girls supposedly wrote, I find it really hard to believe that they actually wrote them. This is their final resting place here. Ethel, Tennie, Fudge, erected by their friends. Now, the notes that they wrote, like I said, there's 3 separate ones, and they actually wrote the date on them. Pensacola, Florida, June 16th, 1916. Don't blame Papa for what I have done, as Papa is out of work and got no money for us to live on. We are better off dead than living as we have lived in the past week. Aunt B will be sorry for what she has done to us, and it will come back on her judgment day. Tennie, Fudge. The second note, Pensacola, Florida, June 24th, 1916. Aunt B, Ethel and I would rather be dead than go on as orphans home, because we know how we would be treated. Boscom can look after himself, but we can't. We have been treated like little, and they used a word that starts with an N, I won't repeat. We know how we would be treated there. We can hardly turn around without being whooped or scolded. Goodbye, Ethel and Tennie. And the last note, Pensacola, Florida, June 24th, 1916. Dear Papa, you are going to put us in the orphans' home, and we would not like to go there because we know how they would treat us. Aunt B wants us to be sent there, and you know you will have to give us away, and there is no use living that way. Ethel and I are gone, so goodbye, Tennie and Ethel Fudge. So those are the two notes that they actually wrote, or supposedly wrote. I have to be honest, after reading the notes, I personally was more convinced that the dad did do it. How convenient for in the notes that the daughter, the supposedly the daughters, would attack the aunt, which reading through the documents sounded like the brother-in-law did not get along with very well. So made an attempt to attack the aunt to make her feel bad. And also how convenient in the notes was it that it basically cleared her dad of possibly doing it. How convenient. Yeah, I would have to agree with them finding him guilty. And they said it was a small life insurance policy, but anyone knows that when you have a situation like that, a lot of people like to donate whatever they can in a time of need. So I would think that that's a good possibility. He was also not only get the life insurance money, but donations on the back end of it. It truly is a sad story. So their dad would go on to pass away in 1930 at the age of 52, and Boscom, the son, the only one of the kids to live, died in 1960, also at the age of 52. I would like to know your thoughts, and I will also include any documents that I have, including the mother's death certificate. Or if anyone has any information they're able to find that I couldn't, I would love to see it. Thank you for watching.